To ring in 2026, I've put together a recap of the research that scientists were buzzing about in 2025, for better or for worse, in the field of regenerative medicine. Little preview on screen here. Every year, these stories just get bigger and bigger, and the magnitude of this past year's advances, that's actually what motivated me to start my channel back in June. Some of you guys might be aware that up until a few months ago, I used to write a feature on regenerative medicine for a biotech company in the city called CCRM. My work was posted on their blog called Signals, and actually the team has just won another award, probably because we have the best editor in the world, so shout out to Stacy Johnson. Now, I noticed this distinctive shift in the type of research that would cross my desk. There are so many more successful human clinical trials today relative to when I started my coverage. And it's very encouraging to think that we're finally making some progress in bringing what could be game-changing treatments out of labs and to people who really need them. A lot of these stories have not been covered on the channel yet, but some of them have. So let's jump right in no particular order. First up is Parkinson's disease, and specifically work by Blue Rock Therapeutics. They announced that their stem cell therapy for Parkinson's would be moving to phase 3, meaning it was found to be safe and there are hints of potential efficacy. But now we get to find out how effective it really is, with more patients trying the treatment. I do have a whole video on this because it was such a hot topic. Click the card above to learn more. Number 2, we're talking epilepsy. Another stem cell therapy that jumped to phase 3 this past year was Neurona Therapeutics' solution for epileptic seizures that don't really respond to medications. This one's particularly cool because we finally get to test theories that have been investigated in vitro and in animals for years. The theory is that epilepsy is likely caused by an imbalance between the chemicals in the brain that amplify or increase electrical activity and the chemicals that dial down or inhibit activity. The idea is that you don't have enough of the dampening chemical and there's just too much runaway electricity. So this therapy introduces more cells into the brain that produce that inhibitory chemical just to dampen things down a little bit. It was looking very promising in their phase 1/2 trial, hence the jump to phase 3. Number 3, vision repair. Optogenetics is one of my specialties. To watch my full episode on it, click the card above. In 2025, there was a very cool application of optogenetics for vision loss. Patients received a genetic therapy involving a lab-created light-sensitive protein. Amazing work. I would so encourage you to go and watch the videos included in the paper online. It was just really, really inspiring seeing someone go from not being able to detect where light is in a room at all to actually being able to walk straight towards it. Number 4, healing damaged corneas with your own stem cells. This story is really USA specific. Researchers conducted a phase 1/2 clinical trial of the first xenobiotic-free, serum-free, antibiotic-free manufacturing protocol developed in the US. While this paper is exciting, I just wanted to highlight that using healthy limbal stem cells from one eye to heal a damaged cornea in the other is not necessarily new, and the authors don't claim it to be so. But the news on this story was kind of making it out to be this novel procedure, which I thought was interesting. In fact, we've been doing it here in Canada for a while. The actual novelty offered by this protocol is that manufacturing guidelines in the US are different, and that's what's preventing autologous, meaning from the self, limbal stem cell transplants in their current form from being used by our southern neighbors, at least until now, potentially. The researchers behind this paper modified a few critical in vitro steps to better adhere to the FDA's good manufacturing practices. That means that this treatment could soon be available to patients in the US, which is a great accomplishment. Number 5 is stem cells for diabetes. I have a whole video on this that's already been filmed, and so it'll be posted in a couple of weeks, if not sooner. Vertex Pharmaceuticals, who also manufactures Casgevy, the gene editing medicine for sickle cell disease that I've discussed here on the channel previously. They've also developed a cell therapy for severe type 1 diabetes. There are people who have participated in their clinical trial and who are now able to make their own insulin. The data was published in 2025. Really amazing stuff. Significant downside: the patients do need to take immunosuppressants because the cells come from somebody else, just like an organ transplant. To get around this, Vertex was also working on a different version of this treatment where the transplanted cells could be encapsulated in a device that would protect them from the immune system. But unfortunately, it was announced this past year that their device failed in a separate clinical trial. So for now, immunosuppression is the only option. I'll get into all of this in plenty of detail, so stay tuned. Number 6. Alzheimer's disease. Longeveron published its Phase 2A ClearMind trial with positive results. They were testing a mesenchymal stem cell therapy for mild Alzheimer's disease. This was an intravenous treatment created using bone marrow-derived mesenchymal stem cells. Mesenchymal stem cells are being tested for all sorts of different diseases because they seem to be really good at modulating the immune system and managing inflammation. And what disease these days doesn't involve inflammation, right? Their goal was to slow the clinical progression of Alzheimer's disease. And interestingly, immunosuppressive drugs were not required alongside this treatment, even though the cells came from other people. They came from donors. And that's because mesenchymal stem cells are what we call immunoprivileged. That means that they don't trigger the immune system in the same way that other cell types do. A Phase 1/2 trial is currently in the works. Number 7 is a darker story about Duchenne muscular dystrophy. I reported on this one in real time for CCRM. Clinical trials inherently carry risks, but this one is still pretty heartbreaking. Duchenne muscular dystrophy is a genetic disorder that causes muscle degeneration. You can imagine how that affects everything in your body. Your ability to move, breathe, your heartbeat, all of it. A company called Sarepta Therapeutics created a one-time genetic therapy for the disease, and a few deaths in 2025 revealed that it's really not for everyone. Patients who were walking around on their own were able to take this medication mostly without any major incidents. However, a pair of patients did die after taking this medication, and it turns out that they were non-ambulatory, meaning they couldn't walk independently. The FDA took this information and decided to restrict use of this medication to only those who could walk. And when you think about it, it's not whether or not they can take a step that really counts here. Walking is a readout of disease severity. Now, how did they die? Liver failure. Why? Because this gene therapy is delivered using empty virus that you can then pack with whatever you want to, like a sort of Amazon package. And I warned about this in my gene editing video. Viral gene delivery is rough on the liver. It's well known at this point. And that's why the FDA ended up adding an extra warning to the drug label for patients with pre-existing liver issues. On to more positive news for number 8, custom CRISPR medicines. 6 months, 1 week, and 4 days. That's how long it took scientists to create a custom CRISPR therapy for baby KJ. KJ was suffering from a rare, life-threatening condition called CPS1 deficiency, which is short for carbamoyl phosphate synthetase 1 deficiency. 6 months is an unprecedented timeline, especially given how long drug development usually takes, over 10 years. CPS1 deficiency is a genetic defect of the process by which the body metabolizes protein. What results is a buildup of ammonia in the tissue, and this can be really toxic, especially in the brain. The infant mortality rate of this disease is 50%, and it affects 1 in 1.3 million people. And even if the child does survive, there's still a risk of intellectual disabilities and developmental delays. Of course, once the baby is diagnosed, their protein consumption is often significantly restricted, and nitrogen scavenging medication is usually prescribed. In KJ's case, rather than the usual liver transplant that would follow, the research team developed a custom CRISPR therapeutic to edit the infant's genetic code. To date, KJ has been stable, is consuming more protein, and is taking less medication. That suggests efficacy. Longer follow-up is going to be required to determine how well this treatment actually works and to assess long-term safety. So far, so good, and if you want to read more, I've got a link to the NIH's article below. Number 9 is in vivo CAR T cell therapy. As you likely know, the CAR T cell therapies that are currently available in clinics are ex vivo, meaning the T cells are taken out of the body, upgraded in the lab, and then returned to the patient. I've got a little short on this, and I also mention it in my gene editing video. Taking the strategy to the next level, researchers have been working on a way to edit the T cells without removing them from the body first. A very cool example of this was published by Hunter et al. Their team developed an in vivo genetic engineering strategy to reset the immune system and create CAR T cells in humanized mice and cynomolgus monkeys. They used targeted lipid nanoparticles to deliver the mRNA to specific subsets of T cells. Check out this great news piece in Nature Reviews Drug Discovery that summarizes progress in this space super effectively. Number 10. Cancer vaccines. This video would not have been complete without mention of Anixa Biosciences' breast cancer vaccine. I've already talked about this one at length in my video on cancer vaccines, so go check that out, but I did have to do a quick summary here. Phase 1 enrollment wrapped up in 2025, and so far, 35 women have received the vaccine. It's just a set of 3 shots given 2 weeks apart. Preliminary results do suggest that the vaccine is well tolerated and that it does mobilize an immune response, so phase 2 is in the works. Number 11, aging. A single factor for safer cellular rejuvenation. The buzz here was so real, and this paper just left everybody in the scientific community very confused. A company called Shift Bioscience found a gene that they claimed lowers single-cell age and attenuates harmful signatures of multiple hallmarks of aging. They proceed not to tell us what that gene is. It's really not normal to publish a scientific paper and not reveal what gene you're studying. I understand that the team is treating it as a trade secret for business reasons, but asking for blind trust at any stage is not reasonable, especially in the wake of other controversies. I really doubt that the paper will be accepted into a mainstream journal as is for this reason. It's currently a preprint, meaning it's the scientific equivalent of self-published. It's especially strange as a strategy because this is what patents are for. You develop an intervention to modulate a gene, and then you patent it. It's what any other biotech company does. Part of me kind of feels like they're intentionally trying to spur controversy or stimulate discussion, create suspense, so moving right along. Last but not least, we are ending on a high note. Coming in at number 12, Down syndrome. CRISPR was used in vitro, so in a dish, to correct the chromosomal abnormality that causes Down syndrome and restore cell function. Now, we call Down syndrome trisomy 21 because it's typically caused by a third copy of your 21st chromosome. A group of scientists used CRISPR on human cells to correct this. Very cool stuff, and it serves as a proof of principle for future therapeutic avenues. Okay, you've made it. If you want a longer video on any of the topics that I've discussed here, let me know in the comments, and stay tuned for my next video on stem cells for diabetes. If you learned something, share this video with a friend.